First, the highlights. Lagos State Government inaugurates 26-member Social Protection Steering Committee. Federal government, international oil companies agree to sustainable supply of crude oil to local refineries. And Warrington, dozens of people missing in Nepal as landslide sweeps two buses into river. And in sports, Nigeria's D Tigress to face Japan in final pre-Olympics test game. And now the details. I am Mike James. The Lagos State Government has inaugurated a 26-member Social Protection Steering Committee to ensure that the state effort to improve the lives of the poor and vulnerable through the utilization of the single social register is achieved. The committee will be chaired by the Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Okpe George. George, while inaugurating the committee, said Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has emphasized his commitment to positively impact the lives of Lagosians with over 20 social functional MDAs, 90 social interventions, and 140 billion naira in budgetary allocations, stressing that as such, there is a clear need for coordinated social protection efforts. According to him, the Lagos State Social Protection Council will oversee the implementation of policies and programs for the vulnerable. The newly established Social Protection Coordinating Department will coordinate efforts, recognize the Lagos State Single Social Register as a state asset, ensure resource mobilization, foster partnership, monitor initiatives, and advocate for policy reforms. In a significant move to safeguard public infrastructure, the Lagos State Electricity Board, LSEB, and the Lagos Neighborhood Safety Agency, LNSA, have announced a collaborative effort to address the pervasive issues of theft and vandalism of electric cables and street lights. The General Manager, LSEB, KAT Balogun, stated this during his recent working visit to the head office of the Safety Corps at Bolade Oshodi, emphasizing the critical need for the partnership, while noting that collaboration was a necessary step following the stakeholders meeting on vandalism between the two agencies held earlier this year. Balogun said the capacity of the Safety Corps to gather intelligence on criminal activities, suspicious behavior, and potential crime suspects is invaluable. In his remarks, the General Manager of the Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps, Falade Oyeko, expressed his support for the initiative, stating that by working together, both agencies can significantly enhance the safety and reliability of public infrastructure. He asserted that the agreement marks a proactive and strategic approach by both agencies to enhance the security of Lagos State electrical infrastructure, ensuring the continuous provision of essential services to its residents. The Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, has promised that the early approval of its 2024 budget will help fast-track the development of the Niger Delta region. NDDC Managing Director Samuel Obuku said this while presenting its 2024 budget estimate of 1.9 trillion naira to the House of Representatives Committee on the NDDC in Abuja. He stated that significant progress had been made in the region and efforts were underway to complete all ongoing projects. Obuku explained that in preparing the 2024 budget, there was a plan to sustain a robust foundation for sustainable economic development and a greener future for the region. NDDC boss also noted that the proposed budget would be funded through federal government's contributions, oil companies' contributions, ecological funds, areas owed to the NDDC by the federal government, and recoveries by federal government agencies, revenue brought forward, borrowings, and internally realized incomes. Ahead the local government elections in Delta State slated for Saturday, the Commissioner of Police, Olufemi Abaniwanda, has offered massive deployment across the state, including marine policemen, to ensure hitch-free exercise. The police also announced a restriction on vehicular movement between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m., saying only officials on emergency and essential duties will be allowed movement. The restriction exempted students writing the National Business and Technical Examinations Board examination A spokesperson of the command, Bright Edafi, said the command, in synergy with other sister agencies, has deployed massively across all polling units, coalition centres and the SIC offices to ensure a hitch-free exercise and also protect the electorate and officials. Edafi also said the ban on the very important personality escorts during the election will be enforced, as it advised that no security details should escort any personality on election day. It said non-state actors such as vigilantes, anti-cult volunteers and hunters, among others, were also advised to stay away during the election. And now to the rest of the story. The federal government and crude oil producers in Nigeria have committed to working towards a sustainable supply of crude oil to local refineries under a market-determined pricing system. Both parties said the aim of the commitment was to ensure that while the crude oil producers do business optimally, the refineries are not starved of feedstock. In a statement issued in Abuja, the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, agreed to concede to a framework that will be mutually beneficial with the aim of ensuring that local refineries are not strangulated due to off-the-curve prices. The Commission's Chief Executive, Gbenga Komolafe, said President Bola Tinubu is fully committed to providing a level playing ground for producers and refineries to do business in the industry. He expressed the need for a rule of engagement to ensure that the pricing model from the oil producers does not hinder the domestic refineries while directing producers and refiners to provide the NUPRC with cargo price codes on crude supply and delivery for effective monitoring and regulation of transactions among parties. Komolafe pointed out a convergence between the domestic crude oil supply obligation and the nation's energy security, indicating that his team is re-engineering its regulatory processes to address the challenges. The Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, NULGE, have commended the Supreme Court's judgment on autonomy for local government councils. The national president of NULGE, Hakeem Ambali, said the Apex Court's judgment will benefit the Nigerian masses and the nation as a whole. He added that local government autonomy will reduce the problem of Nigerians by half, reduce the infrastructural gap, improve community security and food security. The federal government says it is optimistic that the impasse over the new minimum wage will be resolved next week. The Ministers of Information and Labour gave this indication after the closed-door session between President Bola Tinubu and the leaders of organised labour in the State House on Thursday. The meeting, which lasted about an hour, is to reconvene next week. The meeting on the new minimum wage follows the President's decision to have more engagement with stakeholders before a decision is taken on the matter. The Secretary to the Government of the Federal, some ministers, heads of agencies and aides to the President were also in attendance. And in some foreign news, at least 63 people have been declared missing in Nepal after a landslide triggered by heavy monsoon rain swept two buses off a highway and into a river. Authorities said dozens of search and rescue personnel are combing the site for survivors of the accident in the central district of Chitwan. The buses were carrying at least 66 people between them, but 3 passengers had been able to escape before they crashed into the river. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal expressed sadness over the accident in a post on social media platform X. Deadly crashes are common in the Himalayan Republic because of poorly constructed roads, badly maintained vehicles and reckless driving. And now sports news. The Nigeria Basketball Federation (NBBF) has announced additional friendly games for the country's representative in the Olympic Games women's basketball event, the Tigress. The NBBF had initially named Germany and Serbia as the Tigress foes in a friendly build-up before the Olympic Games, but the women's basketball side will also test the might of Japan when the team gets to France in the last test game before the Olympics. Meanwhile, the head coach of Nigeria's senior women's national team, the Tigress, Reina Wakama, has expressed confidence in the team as the players continue training in their new camp in Germany ahead of the Paris Olympic Games. Wakama, who led the Tigers to a record equaling fourth AfroBasket title in Rwanda, said the girls would be able to display their talent when they get to Paris. And that was our news at 10, but just before we go, your vehicle is not a strong room. Please keep your valuables off the view of miscreants. You can follow us and like all our various social media platforms: X, Traffic Radio 961, Facebook, Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, Instagram, Lagos Traffic Radio 961. Subscribe and watch our news and programs live on YouTube, Traffic Radio 961. And you can also visit our website, www.trafficradio961.ng. Did you know that the Sanwo-Olu administration provided 450,000 pupils with e-learning devices? You can get more details. It's on the Lagos State Government website. And to end the news, here are the highlights of the major stories. The Lagos State Government has inaugurated a 26-member Social Protection Steering Committee to ensure that the state efforts to improve the lives of the poor and vulnerable through the utilization of the single social register is achieved. The federal government and crude oil producers in Nigeria have committed to working towards a sustainable supply of crude oil to local refineries under a market-determined pricing system. And we also told you that at least 63 people have been declared missing in Nepal after a landslide triggered by heavy monsoon rain swept two buses off the highway and into the river. And in sports, the Nigeria Basketball Federation (NWBF) has announced additional friendly games for the country's representative in the Olympic Games women's basketball event, the Tigress. And for contact with the newsroom, send a message to info@trafficradio961.ng. That ends the news broadcast. This was compiled by Abiola Fagbalagun. Thank you for listening, Lagos. Good morning. My name is Mike James.